Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Efrem Graham. Ahead today is a nuclear deal with Iran on the horizon. A top Iranian advisor says his country is willing to make major concessions, including not building nuclear weapons, in exchange for the Trump administration lifting sanctions. That development coming as President Donald Trump is working on his Middle East trip to build new alliances. As he says, these relationships among various countries are good for Israel. A major concern in the Middle East: can the new leader of Syria be trusted to bring together a deeply divided country and protect minority groups like the Druze? And here at home, the efforts underway to finally fix America's broken air traffic control system. All those stories and more right now on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Thursday, May 15th, going to begin this half hour with President Trump's trip to the Middle East as he continues to put pressure on Iran to make a nuclear deal or potentially face a military strike. Now, a new report from NBC News says Iran is ready to make concessions in its nuclear program. NBC spoke with a top advisor of Iran's supreme leader who says that in exchange for lifting sanctions, Iran would commit to not making nuclear weapons, dispose of its highly enriched uranium, which could be used for making weapons, and allow international inspectors to supervise its process of enriching uranium for civilian use. All of this comes as the president is working to create new alliances in the Middle East. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell brings us the story now, reporting from Jerusalem.
During Wednesday's state dinner in Qatar, Trump called on the emir to use his influence with Iran to help make a deal and warned time is running out for Iran to make a decision.
I mean, we have two courses. There's only two courses. There aren't 3 or 4 or 5. There's 2. There's a friendly and a non-friendly. And the non-friendly is a violent course, and I don't want that. I'll say it up front. I don't want that. But they have to get moving.
Earlier in the day, he expressed optimism.
I have a feeling it's going to work out. I think it's going to work. It's got to work out one way or the other. We know it's going to work out. But you were of great help.
Trump and Sheikh Al Thani, the emir of Qatar, signed both economic and defense agreements. Al Thani called Trump's visit historic.
I think after signing these documents, we are going to another level of relationship between Qatar and the United States. So I just wanted to thank you, Mr. President, again for this historic visit.
There's continuing controversy over the president's plan to accept a $400 million luxury jet from Qatar's royal family and turn it into Air Force One, with questions about the legality of the gift, as well as safety and defense concerns. Even some of the president's strongest supporters have criticized the plan. There are also concerns about the U.S. moving closer to a country known for supporting terror groups. In 2022, the Biden administration designated Qatar as a major non-NATO ally, a designation that carries military and economic privileges. Qatar also hosts CENTCOM, the largest U.S. base in the Middle East. But Yigal Karmon, founder of Memory.org, says Qatar also hosted Hamas leaders for years, sponsors Islamist terror, and helped build up Hamas.
Qatar gave them billions of dollars over the years. They became a tiny empire, military empire. All the missiles to Tel Aviv, all the almost 40,000 weapon holders, killers, all the drones, all the motorcycles, what have you, all their equipment, everything. Every single missile is Qatar. So Qatar is Hamas, Hamas is Qatar. They go together.
CBN's Raj Nair spoke with Middle East analyst Eric Stakelbeck about President Trump hoping Syria's new president will join the Abraham Accords.
Does he have nefarious intentions towards Israel, or could he truly join the Abraham Accords? In my experience, Raj, covering this for a long time, being on the ground in the region and even interviewing terrorists and former terrorists, the jihadi leopard usually doesn't change its spots. Let's hope that it's different in Syria. President Trump taking a big chance here, but he's doing it at the behest of those Gulf leaders, the Saudis, the Qataris, the UAE. They wanted Syria to join the community of nations.
Trump told reporters on Air Force One that despite the fact he's not traveling to Israel, he's not sidelining the Jewish state.
This is good for Israel. Having a relationship like I have with these countries, Middle Eastern countries, essentially all of them, and Well, I think it's very good news.
President Trump ends his Middle East trip to the UAE today.
Lots more to discuss, so Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, Iran is reportedly willing to limit uranium enrichment and never make nuclear weapons in exchange for the United States lifting economic sanctions and allowing international inspections. Will the U.S. or Israel accept the deal that allows any uranium enrichment by Iran?
It seems doubtful, Ephraim. I think the reason is that if they have ability to enrich uranium, they could also go from civilian levels to military levels. They do say they will allow full international inspections. They have said they would do that before, but that hasn't happened. Right now, there's no kind of the international inspections that the IAEA would prefer. The U.S. has really taken a strong stand about allowing Iran to continue uranium enrichment. Steve Witkoff had said, the U.S. envoy, he emphasized that any agreement must include the complete elimination of Iran's enrichment activities and the dismantling of its nuclear infrastructure. On the other hand, Israel also strongly opposes any agreement that would permit Iran to enrich uranium. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as we have said before and reported, has said that Israel will only agree to a nuclear deal with Iran that eliminates their capacity to enrich uranium. He talks about the Libyan model that was destroyed in 2003 by Muammar Gaddafi. So Iran's proposal to limit uranium and allow inspections, it's a step perhaps in the right direction, but I think both the U.S. and Israel are cautious about this latest offer.
President Trump says the U.S. may be getting close to a deal with Iran, but he's also warning them time is running out. Is there concern among some in Israel the Trump administration is sending a mixed message to Iran?
I think so, Ephraim. On the one hand, President Trump, during his Mideast visit, has vowed that Iran will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. He said it in Riyadh. He also said it in Qatar. He said all action will be taken to stop Tehran's program. Most of Congress agrees with that. There was a letter yesterday from 51 Republican senators, and they back President Trump's position to dismantle Iran's uranium enrichment capabilities. On the same hand, Ephraim, the administration continues to pursue negotiations with Iranian officials, reportedly offering partial sanctions, and with this new NBC report. So whether or not they're going to go the full framework to make sure that Iran has no nuclear program, or they have some sort of civilian program remains to be seen. But there does seem to be mixed messages from the Trump White House.
Some analysts here in the United States say Trump is getting moderate Arab states to essentially be on the side with each other against Iran, and that's good for Israel. Do some in Israel agree with that?
Well, some do. I think it's a mixed reaction right now, Ephraim. Some believe that Trump's effort to align all these moderate Arab states against Iran is beneficial. About 2/3 of Israelis in a recent poll say they believe that normalization with Saudi Arabia, for example, would strengthen Israeli security, boost the economy, and improve Israel's regional standing, and while doing that, also weaken Iran. But other people have expressed concern about Israel being sidelined in the recent U.S. diplomatic moves. We talked about the negotiations. They seem to be separate from with Hamas, and also the stopping of the U.S. strikes on Iranian-backed Houthi forces, and Trump's decision to lift U.S. sanctions on Syria with its new leader. All of these seem to be without involvement by Israeli officials, and they worry that maybe this kind of rapprochement with many of these Arab states is leaving Israel out of the loop.
What does the IDF have planned when President Trump leaves the region?
Well, it's called Gideon's Chariot. Its primary goal is to dismantle Hamas's military, control the Gaza Strip. They call it clear and hold. They're going to move the population out to a humanitarian zone so they can be protected and stop Hamas from using them as human shields. Try to get the release of all the hostages, but also this depends, Ephraim, whether or not there may be a hostage deal in the next few days.
What has Edan Alexander said about his treatment by Hamas in captivity now that he's talking?
Well, it was horrific. He was confined in a dark tunnel, he often handcuffed in a cage with his hands and feet bound. He didn't have much food or water. He was malnourished. He had a major physical weakness when he was released. He needed help to walk. Also, the psychological trauma. He had repeated interrogations and isolation, and he was also fearful that any of the Israeli airstrikes, he might die at any moment. We now know 58 are still in captivity, 20 still alive. Many are praying for their eventual release.
We understand there was a terrible terrorist attack in Israel last night. What happened?
Just such a tragedy, Ephraim. A Jewish mother was on her way to give birth when she and her husband were shot by a terrorist in Samaria. She was a mother of 3. She was 9 months pregnant. She died early this morning. Paramedics were able to deliver the baby. The husband survived the attack. We know now the terrorists are still at large. But what happened was a couple on their way to one of the happiest events in their lives, and it turned out to be one of the worst tragedies.
Indeed, indeed. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, we thank you so much for your insight and for sharing that story as well. We look forward to talking to you in the days ahead. Coming up, can Syria's new leader be trusted, and can he unite a very divided country? Those are some big questions many are asking after President Trump's meeting with him this week. We're going to bring you our CBN News analysis when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. This week, President Donald Trump became the first American president in 25 years to meet with a Syrian president. President Trump joined Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in discussions with Ahmed al-Sharaa just hours after announcing his decision to lift sanctions on Syria. The question remains, can al-Sharaa, a former al-Qaeda operative, be trusted to unite Syria and protect minority groups like the Druze? Gary Lane proposed the questions and more to Chuck Holton shortly after his return from an assignment in Syria.
Chuck, why are the Israelis so concerned about the Druze?
Well, I would call it enlightened self-interest. There's very good reasons for them to support the Druze if the Druze are going to be against the more extremist elements in Syria. And the Druze have kind of an affinity for Israel, and the Druze in Israel live much better lives than the Druze in Syria do. And so the Syrian Druze are looking at that and saying, we want to align ourselves more with Israel. And they would love nothing more than to become a sort of self-governing protectorate of Israel. And if Israel could do that, or at least solidify their relationship with the Druze in southern Syria, that would form a nice buffer zone that would keep out those more extremist elements, keep them from being able to approach and attack Israel at the Golan Heights.
And many of those Syrian Druze are from southern Syria near the Golan Heights. That's the place where al-Jilani, the Golani, al-Sharaa is from, the leader of HTS. So do you think he may be, obviously he'd be familiar with them? Would he be friends with them? Would he protect them? Can he be trusted to protect them?
Well, if you just look at his history, I don't know that you can trust him as far as you could throw him. And it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the people in Syria think. And those people, I just came back from there, talking to people in Syria. I didn't find one person who thought it was a good thing that he's leading what remnants of the country now.
And even Islamists are saying that.
That's right. Even Arabs, even Muslims are saying that we would never vote for that guy. And so he has managed to strong-arm his way into power. The concerning thing is that so many Western countries are falling over themselves to try to legitimize that strong-arming. And that's not the way that a representative democracy works. So we shouldn't be encouraging that in any way, shape, or form. Now, I think everybody just wants to see some form of stability come back to Syria. And indeed, they've had about 600,000 people that have come back to Syria since December, since Jilani took over. But when I talked to people who are living in Manbij and places that have been taken over by either the SNA or the HTS forces, they will tell you they are instituting Sharia law. And they're trying to, rename Syria to the Syrian Arab Republic. Well, it's not an Arab country. There are Arabs there, but there are lots of other groups there, like the Druze, like the Yazidis, like the Christians, who don't want to be part of the Syrian Arab Republic. They want to have a representative republic that allows them some measure of autonomy, and that's really the only way that they will be safe, because, as my friend Michael Yon likes to say, some fish don't swim together in the same pond very well. And so they need to be given their own ponds to swim in, and the only way to do that is to sort of balkanize Syria to an extent.
Well, do you see that happening? Do you think that's going to happen? The
balkanization? I think that's probably the most likely outcome. It's going to be bloody. There's no question about that. None of those entities are going to freely give up what they now control. And the more concerning thing is that all of these extremist elements, the Islamic extremist elements, are some facet of ISIS. And so you could call Syria right now the United Nations of ISIS, because whether it's HTS or the Syrian National Army or the actual ISIS elements in the country, all of them hold those same ideologies, and they all hate each other because they don't think that this guy is zealous enough or whatever. But if something happens to unify all of those elements, they'll be pretty much unstoppable as long as they're still backed up by Turkey.
Well, why then is Israel talking with HTS?
Well, I think they're hoping to keep that from happening. I think what they want to do is try to make some overtures to Giuliani specifically and say, if you're serious about what you're saying to the Western world, which is that you want to create a representative democracy, you want to create a progressive state in Syria, then, okay, we'll get behind that. But you've got to give us some guarantees for our own safety. And, oh, by the way, we're not going to give up the land that we've taken in southern Syria. That's going to be a buffer zone for perpetuity at this point.
Well, we'll see how this all fleshes out. I'm sure you'll be back there in the days ahead, but we appreciate you. Thank you. Keep up the good reporting.
My pleasure.
Also on this week's episode of The Global Lane, a look at the sticking points in Ukraine's peace talks and the role of Turkey's President Erdogan. And Trump has signed deals with Gulf states, Arab states, but how close is he to finalizing a trade agreement with China? You see it all on The Global Lane this evening on the CBN News Channel. It begins at 8 Eastern. You can also find it on the CBN News app, or you can watch on YouTube. Still ahead, here at home, America's air traffic control system is set to get an upgrade after several problems so far this year. We're going to bring you a look at the debate over those changes. We've got the story for you. It's coming up right after this. U.S. air traffic control could soon get a major overhaul. That's if the Trump administration gets its way. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy made his plea to Congress yesterday. And as CBN's Jenna Browder reports, several recent incidents at one of America's busiest airports have highlighted the need for change.
On Wednesday, the FAA met with 6 major airlines to discuss the ongoing delays at Newark Liberty International Airport. The FAA is proposing cutting flights to 68 per hour, down from more than 80. United has already agreed to cut 35 flights a day. It all comes after several snafus at Newark. 4 incidents in the last 2 weeks, including a radar outage just days ago that left air traffic controllers unable to communicate with planes for 90 seconds. FAA Deputy Chief Operating Officer Franklin McIntosh testifying on Capitol Hill.
When we lost that first line, the second line did not kick in like it was designed to do. That's what caused the disruption.
During those 90 seconds, was there a significantly heightened danger to the flying public?
I don't believe there was a heightened significant danger to the flying public.
McIntosh says they're now adding another line of backup at Newark.
We are working with a telco provider, along with Secretary Duffy's leadership, to actually bring in a third line of redundancy into that area to prevent this from happening again.
All of the chaos at Newark prompting delays and the cancellation of more than 1,000 flights.
We use radar from the 1970s.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and the Trump administration are making the case that America's air traffic control system needs an overhaul.
This technology is 50 years old that our controllers use to scan the skies and keep airplanes separated from one another.
The secretary made his pitch to Congress on Wednesday, asking lawmakers for billions of dollars to build a brand new state-of-the-art system. It would include new air traffic control centers, upgrades to telecommunications, and replacing hundreds of radars. They want the work done by 2028. Democrats criticizing the administration's prior staffing reductions and cuts to critical programs.
This plan seems to ignore the realities of the FAA, losing more than 2,000 employees this year, and assumes project timelines not yet defined by costs, access to materials, or feasibility.
And Secretary Duffy says they're also working on upgrades at Newark to help with the delays. He says they hope to make an announcement sometime within the next couple of weeks. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
We're coming right back with an encouraging word for your day ahead.
Introducing a brand new way to start your morning. Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Discover how God is moving around the world and here at home. Plus, get exclusive stories and daily scripture encouragement just for you. Stay informed. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today.
Time now for your Thursday Thankful. I leave you with this prayer of gratitude. God, thank you for peace. Peace is not the absence of a storm or the absence of trouble. Peace is your presence with me in the middle of both, and your presence is where I long to be. With that prayer, may we all say amen and make this a thankful Thursday from start to finish. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online, cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Hope you will make this again a thankful Thursday and come right back here and join us again tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.